Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Poetry, as Ms. Zarmina Raza had said last year, is something that tells you what is the pulse of the nation. It tells you what people are thinking, what they're feeling, and who they are, the truest selves. So this is a very important session to all of us poets, but I hope you enjoy the selection of poems. I will read my poems out first, and then I will introduce each of the panelists, and they will read theirs. My first poem, 333, for Talabu Ajwa. Pink and white rollerblades for Papa's little princess. Don't go too far, Mama warned. Don't worry, Mama. I'll skate just outside the gate. I'll be careful, Mama. Don't worry, Mama. I'll be safe. Outside, all was quiet. The sky blue, not smoky gray. The sun hot, but the air breezy. She skated to and fro, just outside her home. Her mama heard her laughter and shrieks of joy, the sound so joyful that anyone hearing it might forget. 11 months of constant bombardment. Neighborhoods turned to rubble. Hundreds, thousands left homeless, limbless, numb, lifeless, dead. One might almost forget that children, especially children, be they teens, tots, or 10-year-olds, were not safe, not even near their homes. If only mamas were superheroes, leaping over buildings in a single bound. If only babas were home, not scrambling or away, held in prison or dead, just dead, dead, dead. 5 p.m., Tuesday, Israeli strike. Shrapnel, pierced neck, pink rollerblades cradled in mama's arms. When babas are gone and mummies are inside four walls, who's gonna stop the guns from shooting little girls skating in pink rollerblades or little boys returning home? The next one is about some days, you know, those days, some days. Some days. Some days, nothing seems right. Crumpled paper, chipped plates, torn pages, nicked cups, ripped books, broken spoons, leaky pens, soggy noodles, dangling modifiers, burnt sauces, tense errors, overcooked rice. But it's all right. Not coffee spoons, Mr. Elliot. Thank you very much. Just teaspoons, not coffee cups. Part of the process, the cycle of things. Nothing becoming something, not now, not today, but someday. Becoming something. Some days are just some days. For now, just trying. That's enough. Now our second speaker, Moosa Gardezi, is a writer, environmentalist, and educator. He writes both English and Urdu poetry and has published essays on literature and politics in several publications, including The News and Express Tribune.
Thank you. I'm going to start with a poem called On Palestinians Returning to Gaza. Let your tambourines stumble today, singing a new psalm of peace. Your footprints soon will canonize a new book, new chapters to make more holy your already holy land. God swore by your olives and your figs because he knew they would be grown with blood. Palestine, you need not be more holy today. Palestine, you need not be more holy today. Today, you need not send your Davids weighed down by their slingshots, eager to explode into miracle and poetry. Today, you need not wrap your baby Moses in coarse white fabrics to let him float into that dusty Nile that lets no mothers follow. You need not speak to Gabriel today, turn him away. The wet sand and the winter sun have been painted just for you. Tomorrow you can face God on the mountaintop, but Moses is in your ranks today. David sings your psalms with you. Tomorrow you can face Goliath too. Today, let your tambourine tumble and sing your psalms in peace. This is another poem called Decemberistan. Where is the start of your miracles and where is the end of mine? I am a Muslim, a lover of Muhammad and his law, peace and blessings unto him and progeny. But this winter I have seen the miracles of Christmas time. Tell me, is that thought a crime? We do not hold that God, most pure, most high, most wise, begot a son. But we do affirm the virgin birth, and this December the crisp winds of Christmas time have cured the lonely leper of my soul. I am no Maggie from the east, but wallahi I have seen new stars blooming in the sky when aeroplanes of friends have touched down in Jinnah International as if the Messiah were here. Post many months' abandonment, the 12 chairs in my dining room roar with all my 12 disciples, no, companions, yes. In the gullies between winter fairs and shadi halls, blind men find sight, clay birds find flight, waywards find truth, I pray find you. This December, it is as if you will climb down from your messianic pose on the crucifix in my backyard and walk into my room to say, I am reborn, speak to me. Deep into the night and at dawn, go out and profess, this is the gospel of love. This December I have lived a life of assorted miracle, in every shade of prophet, in every shade of God. Here is the end of my miracles. Here is the start of yours. Miss, can I read one more or?
Yeah, you can. Silent. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one small poem. This is a part of a series of poems called Bundles of Moons. In Karachi, night falls like your hair. I sit and braid it as I count so many knitted sadnesses covering a mindful of remembered happiness. Wavy strands extend as khayabans and avenues, maps on maps on maps. The maps of these roads when I was a child, street lights soft and yellow, I drew them dreaming in the back of the car. Then the maps of these half-deserted streets, I charted them with hands that had been touched by you. Today they are mapped onto my memory like verses memorized years ago. I drive through them, reciting to myself, roots, roomy, paths, plath, roots, roomy, paths, plath. Every meter makes me sicker. In the glowing neon supermarket, I tow a cart full of poems, play scripts, trophies, trying to gather the ingredients to remake my name. In every aisle, I think I see you and you and you. The night's locks grow tighter round my neck. In the car, I tell myself I have forgotten the path to school until I wake up there, cold and scared and bare, begging the walls to stop singing my name. Almost home, the trees pull me into their embrace. The trees are dark oracles they trace, the inscriptions on their leaves depicting all that is and was and almost meant to be. All diverging branches carry leaves and leaves of swaying stories beckoning me. I close my eyes, the trees whisper, this night, this tree, this leaf will never be the same again. The trees hand me bundles of moons, white jasmines. I braid them into your hair, the night's hair. Jasmines bloom to perfume tomorrow and tonight. Thank you.
That was really beautiful. I think especially with the first poem, I think I really love that line you said, tomorrow you can face God on the mountaintop. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Peerzada Salman, who is a special correspondent for art and culture for Dawn. He is also an Urdu-English poet and a fiction writer. He is the author of 4 books, Karachi, Legacies of Empires, Bemused, a collection of English poems, Vakht, a collection of Urdu poems, and Ephemera, a collection of English short stories. Thank you.
Thank you. Really glad to see Iftikhar Arif Sahab in the audience. Thank you, sir. Bahut shukriya aane ka. So this one is called Table for Two. Table for Two. Table for two, please. No, not waiting for anyone. Soup I'll begin with. 1 mulligatawny and 1 tomato. No, I'm not waiting for anyone. The main course, let's see. 1 spinach and ricotta ravioli and 1 chicken and rice casserole. And a Diet Coke and fresh lime. No, not waiting for anyone. No. Not particularly keen on dessert. Want the tummy to go in. 1 lava cake, please. And could you please tell that couple at the table in the corner, together they look lovely. This is Sadder Than Love. She reads a poem and midway starts to cry. She finds poetry sadder than love, darker than sex. She gives it one more go. The second line moistens her eyes. It's poetry and sighs. Done with it. When I say I'm done with it, I mean Ulysses is no more my hero, and Penelope is no more my love. When I say I'm done with it, I mean Othello stands vindicated, and Desdemona is a pathological liar. When I say I'm done with it, I mean I want to sing The Man Who Sold the World at the top of my lungs, without giving 2 hoots about what it means. And finally, I used to call my dad Papa, so this one's called Papa. In some ways, I'm like my father. A lot of chest hair, a bear. I dread helplessness and catastrophes. I don't touch unearned trophies. I smile at the unloved and cut down to size those whose shadows outgrow their names. In some ways, I'm not like my father. My face is round and pockmarked. My nose is Semite big. My eyes can't see the goings-on behind closed doors. I deny the darkness behind my back. I can't see the black in the white that engulfs me when I'm not dreaming. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I particularly like the table for 2 when you go off and eat alone and how people treat you that way. And now we have Fatima Ijaz, who has received her Master's in English and Media Studies from Rutgers University this past year. Her chapbook, Last of the Letters, was published with Bottlecap Press in 2024. Her full-length poetry collection, The Shade of Longing, was published by Little Book Company in 2021. She's a contributing editor at Pandemonium Journal, and her work has been published in numerous national and international publications. Last night, her show, Fire Morning, was performed. It was a theatrical response to her poems by Hulsum Aftab.
Thank you so much. The first one is a prose poem, The Sighting of Her. The first time I saw her, she was the taste of a shimmer of blue ice. Lately, she has been appearing in white goddess attire of the East. Most of the nights, she is dancing, usually on ancient rhythms, though the sway and pull to her actions also carry a modern appeal. I am uncertain why she is here or what she wants to say to me. Her lips are sewn in a silent arabesque, yet a smile quivers on her inviting lips. I think she beckons me toward a better version of myself, somehow deeper, more alluring. But I cannot be sure of anything. The psychic frequency I share with her is alarming and unnatural. There are moments I become her, and she me. When we are torn from one another, as when a moment of acute reality pierces in, or when either of us are temperamental and wish to be alone, there is a searing pain we experience, such as that of torn wings. I do not know where she is then, and this is cutting because of the aligned intimacy we once shared. I wonder how it is for her at such times. Sometimes she imparts teachings, like the one time she became an emblem looming large upon the skies. On it were written in pink shimmer the words, "I don't care." They were written in the color of isolation, in the color of joy. They were a keeper. Her teachings weren't solitary or mere words. They carried with them the full emotional impact of virtuosity, of a deliberation that enacted moments of rapture and insight. On days she revisited as black nightingales, she elicited a miraculous singing response from me. This was doubly enigmatic, for what nightingale did that? And when did I ever sing? My song carried her wonder, her spirit, and when it released me, I felt I was in a river, transformed into several black swans. Life seemed to hover in multiplicity, and then I fathomed what she could have meant being so many nightingales. We share this psychic union, but it is not sure if she is real. Perhaps I will meet her one day in real form, or perhaps I will become her on that day, and we will be rid of duality altogether.
Wow.
Second one is She is Missing. I search with a desperation for poetry. I want to smuggle out her hands and ears from old castaway dolls. I look for her on the other side of skies. I look for her inside of you, beggar that I am. I cannot find her tonight. I empty out the river of dreams and question the fidelity of gods. It's as if she's left me out here alone. I am punished in the violet of her eyes, which is a blindness to all those who questioned her sycamore, who molded her to ruin. I want to run inside the halcyon fields which perplex the prose eaters. She's dancing somewhere, and even though I desire her, I cannot be with her tonight, so I conjure up these hazy words. And the last one is The Silent City. The circle of silence that I started carries on within me. I wake up to its tranquil beat. I succumb to its beauty, its spirit of longevity. Yes, I must remember all I sewed into the sun in thick pink thread. I must dissolve into my own, all that I constructed out of my shadow. I must dance once again, for it is not too long ago. I have momentarily lost my solitude city. I look for her as if I was a ghost and she, my body. She is not one to turn away on her own. It is I who must reach out to her, and then she is everywhere within reach. But sometimes I forget and can't recall that I long for her. Thank you.
Those were lovely, especially the silent city. The circle of silence that I started carries with me. Just thank you. Our next speaker is Salman Tarek Kureshi, an English poet, writer, and columnist. His poems have appeared in numerous anthologies, and some of his poems and short stories have been published in the annual Pakistan Journal of Literature. As a columnist, he writes on socio-political topics in the Weekly, the Friday Times, and the Daily Dawn and Daily Times. His collection of poems, Coming of Age, has recently been published.
Thank you. This poem was a bit of an experiment. Tried something, let's say, different, not necessarily new for me, but let us see if it worked. It's called Death of Osama. Sunlight ages to bronze. Fingers of shadow reach across an earthen courtyard. Reach across an earthen courtyard to where a rope cot rests. There is a murmuring of prayer among the handful of relatives, neighbors. The cotton cloth shrouding the form on the cot gleams white through the gathering shadows. Indoors, behind a curtain, the women mourn noisily with a mother whose face is hideous with grief. Her older child stands by the curtain, brown eyes wide at what has happened to her brother. The mullah concludes. The elders rise. More murmurs, a cry, no God but God. As the mourners are led by an aging uncle in a high starched turban. The mourners, led by an aging uncle in a high starched turban, heft the cot and shuffle out the street to the street door. The mother's lamentations fall behind as they travel up the unpaved village street and along the hill path through a grove of trees and over a daisy-strewn meadow. Near the burial place, the shroud slips, exposing the dead boy's foot. Skin blackened by fever and toenails turned yellow. The old uncle covers him up again. Where he is buried, there is the shade of a walnut tree and the scent of nearby pines. Beneath the earth they fling, his head is turned to the valley, where a flight of swifts soars up through depths of air, and the clouds paint patterns of sunlight on the peaks, on the slopes. As they return to the village streets, they hear tea shop radios, loud with comment on what had taken place the previous night, not many miles away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Moeen Faruqi, who is an artist and English language poet. His paintings have been exhibited widely within Pakistan and internationally. His poems have been published in various literary journals in Pakistan and abroad.
No, I got it. Okay, thank you. This poem is called Costumes. Wait a second. Costumes. In the closet, a line of clothes, costumes for the evening's conversations. A mirror in the bedroom discloses faces. Nights speak, recalling confessions. Whispers sleep in drawers. A spider on the ceiling eavesdrops on blue neon figures, wondering if the one who came last night was someone you became. Thank you. This is a descriptive poem about perhaps a desert or something. Concrete fades, crumbling to desert where the city ends. At midday, the ochre sea, stretched to distant hills, exhales end of winter. A line of camels fades behind the sandstone temple, carrying the day's dilemmas. Figures riding gaze at us, then amble into a mirage, each footprint marking a wasted month. Near the road, a lizard's spring regalia adorns a lone cactus, a pilgrim praying to desert gods. Clumps of green mark presence of water, still ponds of hope where a desert snake plays music. Palm trees gesture in a breeze, drink air that touches our face, effacing this fear of going nowhere. Thank you. And this is a poem about, because we're in Karachi, about the waterfront perhaps. And it's called Waterfront. Beyond Kimari, beyond the bridge where ships dock and eagles in droves dip for offerings from kids' hands, there is a light that bends towards the sea. The water not just blue but green and even red, in depths where a dancing mirror captures the hulls of visiting freighters from Thessaloniki and Panama, Taipei and Mombasa, places this fisherman has never heard of. He only knows the breeze as it bounces off the wavering glass, reflecting secrets of a salt wind. Children dive in fetid water, where the man's hovel, darkened by salt and wood and diesel, wades into the muddy sea. We come here to taste the same salt and the breeze, if in kindness it will touch us too. Perhaps not with the same meaning, and not with our children, safe in their homes watching television. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the imagery, especially
Thank you.
And our last poet, Minaa Shahzad, who's a student at IBA. She writes short stories and poetry, with some works featured in Poetry in English from Pakistan, a 21st century anthology. In the future, she hopes to continue write.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am the oldest daughter, and I grew up with all four of my grandparents. I lost 2 of them within the last 2 years. My first 2 poems are about grief. Thank you. The first one is called Empty Beds. Last, when I scrunched my nose against your kiss, feeling the prick of your greyed beard and the warmth of the chestnut skin behind it, I was small enough to fit perfectly into your arms. The television blared, a constant beacon, a life in itself, as you listened to the people of the never-ending world. A man of routine, you never forgot your hourly strolls, your morning yogurt, your daily newspapers ruffling in the morning sunlight without fail. It fails me to know when you stopped. When exactly time evaporated to nothing. At least, if nothing else, I witnessed. For all the pain to lose, the love I sought to gain, the grief I hold so close, so dear. Empty beds hold the heaviest sorrows, full houses, the many grievers. Last, when I placed a kiss upon your hollow cheek, feeling the prick of your white beard and the icy stretch of pale skin behind it, I am old enough to want to be small enough again. Thank you. The second one is called Echoes of the Final Act. Death glides amongst our desolate ranks today. She goes unnoticed amongst the many women, bowed heads shrouded with chadars of tears, clutching prayer desperately, hungrily. With a curious gaze, she greets the mourners, those whose janazas she will attend next. As always, she ponders the great sorrow in their hearts. She does not deem herself a curse like they have. She has brought together 5 siblings and a mother and positioned them upon the board of her design, circling the casket of their father as one whole. In a reunion that has cost many decades of life, they slander and slight her in petty sport to carry on. Nonetheless, they will bury the sorry sufferer and thank her. To a man with no memories but those of his dead mother, he welcomes her lovingly as a long-desired repose. Yet, surrounded by his children and their children, in his final act, recollection of lost time floods to him, clutches him throat and bone, mirroring their enormous grief. A man with no memories forgets that he was once a man at all. But a man with no memories is still remembered by all. They echo him in verse and poem, whisper soft prayers in his stead, step into the sprawling streets of his lived-in cities. She has taken his breath, but she cannot pierce their hearts. The mourners will gather once more. Sons and daughters allow themselves to weep just this once, asking death to be kind, and she will promise a tenderness unknown to them in life. She will gift them the annals of joy within the thralls of grief. Seldom is it known for her to not be the end, but rather a path. Eternal dawns lie unlocked behind the doors of the final prayer. Now, the man with no memories is but a child, clenching her hand, waiting for her to lead him to safety, to the warmth he once knew. They stand at the shores of the sea, shouldered by the city of lights. She strides forward to bring him home, smiling at him in familiarity. Death is a mother, a return to the womb, a plunge into the unknown. You, who were made from nothing, will take refuge within once more. Thank you. This last poem is about my country. It is less of a poem, it is more of an instruction. It's called Slaughterhouse. To run a country, you must know how to shatter dreams. Within dreams lies money, lies ambition, lies power, lies hope. Sit upon your throne and think not of the bodies that make it, the bodies that held dreams, the bodies that held life. Run not a country, but a trade, a business, a conglomerate, a scheme fit for you and all the other rich, empty bastards. You hold the title like a crown, your sickness like a name, and your teeth sink sharp into the soil of the motherland. Run a culture born from guns and ash, brotherhood and love to the ground. The dreams of masses matter not in the wakes of your endless wealth and the empire you built from blood. The poor man's money was never his, but earned for you alone. To run a country, you must create a slow and endless torture. Lock away the beacons, cut off all that connects and bonds, feed them fat with lies while starving them of that what fills. Suck away their souls, be a knife at their throats forever. To run a country, you run a country to eat, to cannibalize. Within every bite, the grease that runs down your thick necks is the marrow of a billion, the sacrifice of the lowly sheep. Run a country to ruin a country, a slaughterhouse of your own. Thank you.
That last one was very powerful. And the earlier two, very, very touching. Minaa actually was a science student, but in the last year of her A-level, she decided that she was going to write. What was it about writing that made you decide to choose that rather than a medical career?
Medical started feeling so lifeless after some time. And every time I would write, I used to enter this zone. It didn't need to be poetry. It didn't need to be like, it could just be like essays in your literature class. It used to put me in this mindset of like energy and just adrenaline. And I loved it so much. I was like, I want to do this forever. And when I compared that to medical, I felt maybe once I was passionate about it, but then I had lost that by A-levels. And I decided that I would rather do what makes me happy, what makes me feel something, than do something that just makes me feel nothing.
Thank you. Moosa, your Decemberistan, I thought it was really interesting because when we think of Decemberistan, we usually think of weddings and all of that. And this was such a different take on it.
Decemberistan, it's interesting because we speak of it as a place sometimes, and we speak of it as time sometimes, but really it's an atmosphere of emotion. So I think what my poem was trying to do was talk about that atmosphere of emotion, but I think my main motive in the poem was to bring together two traditions of the sacred, because I was talking about a sort of idea of the Islamic sacred and then the Christian Christmas sacred. So the fact that Christmas is in December is what I used to tie it into. People often talk about the sacred and the profane. What I try to do is the sacred and the sacred, but two different kinds of sacred. That's what was driving that poem. I don't think that answers your question.
No,
but
it does.
it's what drove my poem.
Peerzada, I really thought your poem Papa was very interesting. Whenever we think of writing about our relatives, especially our parents, somehow the poems become very nostalgic and very touching. But there was this element of fun and joy and this this happiness in remembering.
Fun and joy?
In the sense that, you know, it's their differences, but like when I seem to write, it always seems to be about my father's not dead yet, but it always seems to be looming over my head. But this, I like the idea of you talking about, you know, just comparing the two. I just thought it was lovely.
I was extremely fond of my father, and I have never come across in the entire course of my life a more selfless man than my father. He died, like I think in 2023, 31st of March, and that was a huge blow, huge blow. I was utterly distraught. To be honest, I don't know how to describe that poem, but when I write a poem, it's all about the cadences, it's all about the rhythm. I don't attach importance to meaning.
Well, it was very lovely.
Read it again. Acha. You're saying read it again?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Okay, so Papa. In some ways, I'm like my father. A lot of chest hair. A bear. I dread helplessness and catastrophes. I don't touch unearned trophies. I smile at the unloved and cut down to size those whose shadows outgrow their names. In some ways, I'm not like my father. My face is round and pockmarked. My nose is Samite big. My eyes can't see the goings-on behind closed doors. I deny the darkness behind my back. I can't see the black in the white that engulfs me when I'm not dreaming.
Thank you. Fatima, last night you had your first show of Fire Morning.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Fire Morning, it was a poem that I had written around last year, and I was visiting Karachi, and my friend Kulsum Aftab, who's also a director and an actor and a writer, we had this intense discussion about poetry and life and all sorts of things. And this poem came up and we said, let's do something about it. This was like around just 1.5 months ago. So we got into this intense cycle and we started reading my poems and working out theatrical interpretations of it. And I also wrote 2 scenes which were included in Fire Morning. So it was a bilingual effort, blurring realities between theater and poetry and languages and time and space. So we did something experimental. That's how it came about.
I don't know, it sounds wonderful to be able to turn poetry into another art altogether. But congratulations.
Can one see it somewhere online? This performance?
There have been recordings and clips, and Arts Council had a whole video recording as well. So when they upload it, I will definitely. Thank you so much.
I hope we get to see it. I hope there's another show.
Hopefully, yes.
Salman, this last poem that you wrote, this is very recent. This is after your collection was finished.
Which one? Sorry? The
Your
one I
last
read
one,
out?
Osama?
Yes, Osama. Yes, this was written specifically, as the name says, as the title says, when Osama bin Laden was executed. The poem itself is, as I said, it's experimental. There's a bit of a comment in there. The reference to Osama's death is only there at the end of the poem, in what the villagers are hearing on the radio as they come back from the grave. The rest is a description of a country funeral of a young boy in the lovely hill country, the mountains of Hazara, where of course Osama bin Laden was also found and executed. That's a description of that and the villagers' preoccupation with this funeral. And of course I couldn't resist talking about the beauty of the hills and the sunlight being carved on the peaks and the swifts flying up from the valley. And so in a way it's a comment at the transience of people who are sensational for a while and then gone. Life and death goes on. The beautiful country goes on. And we all survive. That was the comment I made in that poem. It's reasoned to that extent that it was written after the Osama's death.
Thank you. Moeen, we know you're an artist. Do some of your poems ever inspire you to paint those scenes or vice versa?
I think it's the other way. Or actually, I don't know if they're related, but yeah, for me, because of what I feel and because of painting, maybe my poems are primarily visual. I mean, I'm trying to create those colors and the sounds. So yeah, they influence each other, I think, and so that's a good dialogue going on in my studio kind of thing.
Thank you. Would any of you like to say anything?
Well, I'd like to put a question to you.
Yeah.
Your first poem was pretty moving. Would you like to expand on it?
I think it's too moving. I think since this started, the Palestine war, I think it has really changed the way I look at things. And I know it has moved a lot of people and opened our eyes. And you see that suffering. And it's relentless, and it's on TV, it's on social media, people are talking about it. And I think what's disturbing is there's no one putting a stop to it. And to see children, I'm a teacher. It's an awful sight.
I think it's affected all of us, and we're trying to, I think I'm so overwhelmed I can't write about it. That also happens. You're speechless actually. But to write like that, it's very nice, very moving.
I think a lot of us have taken to poetry to deal with a lot of things. First there was COVID, then this, and I think it really is just wonderful that maybe when we write about things, it makes people see things in a new way, change things, and it makes us see things in a new way. To me, it's a way of processing some of my emotions as well. So, thank you. Would anyone else like to say anything on the panel? We do have some time. Does anyone in the audience have any questions?
Yeah, Madam Brina.
From these poets?
I'm actually not sure if they will be. I mean, they haven't been in the past, but I suppose we can ask someone to maybe print them. Yes.
I have a small question for the gentleman sitting just opposite me. You used one Urdu word in your poetry, Shadi Hall. Why don't you say wedding halls? What was the purpose?
I very consciously use a lot of Urdu words, sometimes Arabic words in my poetry. I think the reason for that is that English is not my mother tongue, it's not my father tongue, and I'm very aware of that. And there's a certain amount of guilt for me associated in the fact that the process that has brought English to me, that has made me an English poet, is a very violent process which has included colonialism and genocide and imperialism. At the same time, I'm very aware that English is a very gymnastic language. It's a very versatile language that can accommodate a lot of different cultures and experiences. So I do see myself and people of my generation at a process of decolonizing and changing the culture of English, because all languages have a culture and have a politics to them. And you have to make an active effort to change that politics. So I think for me, using Urdu words or Arabic words, and I think Minaa also used one Urdu word, it's a political decision, but it's also an expression of the self. I hope that answers your question.
Ijaz, I have a question for you. The second poem that you read out that ends with this verse, please tell that couple at the table that they look lovely together. It's such a the poem that you read with, yes, the first poem, that ends with this verse. I mean, please tell that couple, I mean, that you look lovely together. So it is such a profound expression. It is so meaningful. So would you publish your collection of poems, or have you already published?
It has been published, actually. There's an anthology out. What's it called?
Titled?
The title is Table for Two.
Is it available in the market?
It's available. I'm forgetting the name of the book. No, not Bemuse. It's an anthology published by Leona Yusuf. Abhi published here. 21st Century. Poetry in English from Pakistan, a 21st century anthology.
And would you please tell us where can we get it from? I'm sorry.
I think it should be available at Liberty. I'm not sure, but I think Alhambra has published it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
It's an anthology.
Thank you, sir.
Ji.
Thank you.
And one last question.
My question is for the delightful Moosa Gardezi. So my question is, how much would you say that the way you recite the poem adds to the depth and the overall influence of the poem? Would you say that along with the context and the content of the poem, there's actual like weight and the effect of the poem is, how much of it is by the expression and the way of speaking and the way of speech of it?
I think the effect of a poem is for the reader or the listener to decide. Were I to talk about my own reading skills, that would be arrogant. But I do think that poetry as a medium has its roots as something which was recited. So the sound devices obviously have a very, very important part to play. And I think in the 21st century, with social media and with political movements which are increasingly using poetry, that faculty of poetry to sound good or to sound appealing is a very important part, at least in my poetic practice. And I heard a lot of the poems that were recited today were also using sound devices very, very prominently. So it is an important part of the practice of poetry.
Thank you so much. This has been a lovely.
Din